I am with Bruce Hart here. I guess now you're the eldest Hart brother. You're one of my professional wrestling trainers, and you're here this weekend at the Dan Gable Hall of Fame to be part of your brother Owen's induction.
Yeah, I'm really honored. You know, anybody who knows anything about amateur wrestling knows of Dan Gable and the Luthez, George Tragos. You know, so it's really those guys are all among the most honored and legitimate amateur wrestlers of all time. So it's nice to see Owen being inducted because of that. You know, and he had an outstanding amateur background himself, and I'm hoping in some ways this, conveys a message to the WWE. I know the deal with some of the reasons why WWE is probably apprehensive about inducting Owen into the Hall of Fame. Nonetheless, it's his body of work and what he brought to the wrestling business certainly warrant him being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and it's for the fans as much as anything, and the fans loved and honored Owen, and so for him to not be in the Hall of Fame and so many others that had far less of an impact on the business, it's completely wrong in my estimation. So I'm happy that they inducted him here, and I'm hoping that maybe the WWE can maybe see it as some kind of a pretext or lay the groundwork for inducting Owen. And I've also said, it might not be a bad idea for Owen to be inducted as part of a group like the Hart Foundation, along with Davey and Dynamite and Neidhart and something like that.
Or the Hart family, like they did the Von Erichs.
Yeah, something like that. I was not thrilled with that whole charade is a little bit.
Oh, you don't think Mike's worthy?
No, I don't know those guys that well, but Chris and whatever, but you have to, that makes Owen's exclusion from the WWE Hall of Fame that much more kind of outrageous when those guys are, for me, the most egregious is Medusa, whose main claim to fame was taking the WWE title belt on WCW Nitro and throwing it in an effing garbage can, and she's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Then, of course, there's Owen's high-energy partner, Coco Beware, in there, who did far less than Owen.
Yeah, so, hopefully they can, WWE or whatever can come up with some pretext or workable situation that kind of satisfies whatever the situation is, and I'd be more than happy to talk to them, but thus far they haven't made any overtures to any of us. It's all just kind of stuck in neutral. And
Now, we recently did an interview with David Schultz, and he told us that he used to amateur wrestle Owen Hart in the Stampede dressing rooms. Do you have any recollection of that?
Not really, I know Owen and David. Owen was pretty young then, but Owen always told me one of his favorite performers and the guys that inspired him in a working sense was David Schultz, and he told me that it was like one of his big idols or heroes. And I think Owen was about 15 or So when David Schultz first arrived in Calgary, he said, Owen, I'm very fond of him, and told me he was kind of one of his inspirations.
How did you like booking when David Schultz was a talent? Did you find him easy to work with?
I thought he was a great talent. I really loved his promos, and he was a dynamic, vibrant personality, and it was too damn bad the WWE or WWF at that time. That stupid incident with that ABC reporter, John Stossel. Schultz should have been commended and, given 100% support by WWF for doing that instead of them, kind of severing ties with him. And I respect him for, and more wrestlers should have done what he did. He's just protecting the propriety of the business, and Vince and company should have handled that a lot better.
Now, Smith, your older brother, unfortunately passed away since the last time I spoke with you. I considered him a friend. I was pretty saddened by his last few years. He was suffering a lot. Do you have anything to say about your brother?
Yeah, he was a great guy, great big brother. Had a big heart, do anything for any of us, and he also was a great mind for the business. He and my dad didn't unfortunately agree on their approach to the business, and it kind of compromised Smith's, the way he was allowed to be part of the business. But Smitty was a great guy, and I loved him and miss him dearly. He was a great big brother, and he did a lot for me, and he was always supportive, and he had a wicked sense of humor too, and a great personality. So I miss him. And
now, the Junkyard Dog started off his career with Stampede Wrestling. He ended up having a very successful career. Any memories of his early days?
Yeah, I met him over in Hanover with Dynamite Kid, and he's a pretty good man. Sylvester Ritter, that's his name. But I had him come over to Calgary. He was kind of basically down on his luck, and I talked my dad into booking him, and we had him as a heel, and he kind of launched his career up there, and there was quite a few young guys that worked with him, including Brett and Dynamite, Neidhart, and he was pretty green himself then, so they all kind of grew together, and he was a good man. I was happy to see him succeed when he kind of got back to the States, doing the JYD Junkyard Dog thing. And but yeah, I have only good memories of Big Daddy, as he wrestled up in Calgary's Big Daddy Ritter, so we always just call him Big Daddy, but a good guy.
Now, Jim Neidhart's another guy that should probably be in the WWE Hall of Fame, well, without question. How's his health doing these days?
I hope it's better. He's had a few things I heard, but I hope his health's good. I keep my fingers crossed, and haven't heard anything lately that's cause for concern, but I hope he's doing all right.
And what do you think about Harry getting a big push now with World of Sports coming back in the UK? Are you happy that he's finally getting the spot that he deserves in that upstart company?
Harry's an awesome talent. You were down in the dungeon back in the day when Harry was down there, and I would like to have seen WWE use him to the best of his ability. He was, my estimation, not really used that well the first time around, but he's a really good kid, and he's put his heart and soul into it, and he's young enough that he could still be a huge, asset to any promotion. Doing well in Japan. And he's got a lot of pride and really put his heart and soul into the wrestling business, and I could easily see him being a big star if he ever went back to WWE. But so I'm happy to see him do well. You were down in the dungeon with him, and he always worked hard and was a good team player and helped a lot of the young guys, yourself included, when they were coming up. And so he'd be a great asset to any promotion.
Now, I know you're really busy today, so I'll just ask you a couple more questions. Any memories of Jake the Snake when he was with Stampede?
Jake was a pretty good talker. He had a good gift of gab and was pretty charismatic. I never thought he was a great athlete or anything like that, but he did pretty well. So I know my dad was always happy to see anybody that came out of Calgary and succeeded somewhere else. It always made him kind of feel gratified and proud. So I think my dad was happy to see Jake become a pretty big star in WWE, and so I was never that interactive with Jake, but I always thought he had some talent and charisma, so more power to him.
Now, Bad News Allen was, of course, Bad News Brown in WWE, and he was in Stampede as well as the Cuban Assassin. And I heard when Cuban Assassin had his WWE tryouts, there was some type of very serious fight between him and Allen, which ended up screwing over the Assassin's chances. Bret Hart talks about it in his book, so I was wondering if you could shed any light, if you know what happened in that incident.
I'm not really sure. There was some apparent acrimony over some incident. They had a fight, some kind of at a Denny's or something, and I'm not sure Allen's wife got knocked over or something like that, trying to break it up. It was regrettable because up till that time they had been good friends, and Cuban Assassin was a great talent, and I'm sure he would have been quite successful in WWE, and it didn't enhance Allen's image either, so it's too bad. I wasn't at any of those altercations, so I could only speculate on what happened, but both of them were good guys. I had a lot of respect for both of them.
Somebody told me recently that Olli Anderson spent time in Stampede Wrestling, and I have no recollection of ever hearing anything about that, but they were quite insistent that he did, so I was wondering if you could clear that up.
Yeah, Olli, Al Rogowski, he was up in Calgary maybe in the late 60s, wrestling under the name of Brock Rogowski. He was kind of mid-card. He wasn't really a big star or anything. He was just kind of like a lot of other guys getting some experience. And I don't recall much else. I ran into him years later down when he was booking down in WCW, and seems to be a little bitter or pissed off at the world these days. I'm not sure why or what his reasons are, but he was all right. He was never even in any major kind of roll-up in Calgary, so I never heard whether he was a great booker or not, but he seemed to, for a while there, be in a position of authority that was pretty high profile.
Now, I know you have your Heartbeat Radio. That's a pretty successful podcast you've been doing for a number of years now. Do you want to let people know how they can subscribe to that, and if you have any social media or anything where they could follow you?
Yeah, I'm not up on all the terminology, but it's Heartbeat Radio at pwpnation.com. And I also do a written thing called Heart Murmurs, where I just kind of render perspectives on different aspects of the wrestling, and that's on, you can go on Heart Murmurs, just Google it, and by Bruce Hart, and offers some succinct perspective on the different people and situations in the business. So I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on it, and appreciate the fans kind of supporting it.
All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us, and congratulations on your brother going into the Hall of Fame here this weekend.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it, and good luck, with your Hannibal thing. I hear it's been going well, and keep up the good work.